I wish you were dead. My brother, Hayes, actually said those words to me once. Hate isn't a strong enough word for what he felt. So, I gave him what he wanted, stomach cancer. But when I finally died, smiling right in front of him, he didn't celebrate. He shattered. He lost his damn mind. It started the day I got the diagnosis. I was clutching the crumpled medical report, my knuckles white, when his name flashed on my phone. He opened with an interrogation. Cold. Merciless. My phone vibrated in my hand just as I unlocked the front door. Hayes. I stared at the screen. The diagnosis report in my bag was already a tight, sweaty ball of paper. Hayes never called first. Dad's birthday was 2 days ago. His voice could freeze hell over. Typical. Why didn't you come home? Didn't feel like it, I said, cutting him off. You went. That's enough. Brittany flew all the way back from Europe. Brittany, my cousin, the foster sister, the golden child. Good. She's there. Since she's the only sister you actually claim, you didn't need me. Silence on the other end. Then, a snap of anger. Low. Warning. Harlow. I pressed the red button. The line went dead. The last streak of sunset bled out across the floorboards. I sat at the dining table and pulled the diagnosis out of my bag. I didn't read it again. I just started tearing. Rip, rip, rip. White confetti rained down on the dark wood. Just as the last piece fell, my screen lit up again. A text from Hayes. Mom's anniversary is coming up. Hayes, my brother, my tormentor. He hates me. It's not just a sibling rivalry, it's a blood feud. Because I killed Catherine. 20-something years ago, our mother, Catherine, went into labor. I took my first breath and she took her last right there on the operating table. A life for a life. My birth was a murder disguised as a miracle. No one celebrated my arrival. Leonard lost the love of his life. Hayes lost his mother. I was the villain in their tragedy from day one. I didn't skip Leonard's birthday to be a brat. I skipped it because pain had doubled me over in the bathroom until black spots danced in my vision. That was the first red flag. The first sign that my body was turning against me. But honestly, my absence was probably the best gift I could have given them. Hayes didn't text again. The next morning, I stood outside the corporate headquarters, sucking in a jagged breath of city air. After graduation, I joined his company, started at the bottom, climbed my way up tooth and nail, and no one knew. I was a ghost in his machine. To the rest of the staff, I was just another employee. We barely spoke. I saw him less than the interns did. Last week, a senior exec walked. Rumor mill said the VP spot was mine. Everyone said it was a lot. Before I held that death sentence of a paper in my hand, I thought so too. I bumped into Taylor in the hallway. She flashed a grin and leaned in close, practically vibrating with energy. Don't forget, drinks are on you when the promotion is official. Harlow. I kept my gaze low, forcing a small smile. Nothing is set in stone. Please, it's yours, she said, hooking her arm through mine. You're the only one here who actually deserves it. We walked into the conference room. Hayes was already there. Our eyes locked for a nanosecond before I severed the connection. I looked away, treating him like a stranger. Mr. Jeong. He didn't even look up. Just a stiff, mechanical nod. You'd never guess we'd been screaming at each other 48 hours ago. The room filled up. Chairs scraped against the floor. Hayes cleared his throat. Taylor nudged me under the table, winking. I stared at my notepad. Then, the name dropped like a bomb. Brittany. A familiar figure glided through the door. Slim, elegant, radiating that effortless grace she'd perfected years ago. Her smile was soft, practiced. Hayes stood next to her, presenting her to the room like a trophy. Ms. Tang has just returned from Europe. She will be taking over the position of vice president. The air left the room. Heads turned toward me. I could feel the weight of their pity, the confusion. I didn't blink. I just looked at Brittany standing on that podium, smiling like she owned the place. The silence stretched. A suffocating, awkward tension. I lifted my hands. Clap, clap, clap. My applause was lonely and sharp, breaking the spell. A few others joined in, hesitant and scattered. Brittany caught my eye. Her brows curved into a sweet, innocent crescent. The break room coffee was overwhelmingly strong. I stirred it with a plastic spoon, staring into the black liquid. I took a sip. Acid burned its way back up my throat, settling into a sour knot in my stomach. Taylor was seething. Her eyes were wide, incredulous. Are you kidding me? A Nepo baby hire? She just waltzes in and steals your spot? Is this a joke? Harlow, say something. You aren't pissed? She slammed her hand on the counter. That office belongs to you. You nearly hospitalized yourself for that project last month. She scanned my face, her anger softening into concern. Seriously, look at you. You look like hell. Stop killing yourself for this place. The heat from the ceramic mug seeped into my cold palms. Mr. Jeong has his reasons, I murmured. Taylor's eyes narrowed. She opened her mouth to argue, to spill more grievances, but a ringtone slashed through the quiet. It was mine. I answered. Hayes' voice filled the small room, leaking suppressed fury. Harlow, my office. Now. My hand jerked. Hot coffee sloshed over the rim, soaking into the cuff of my white blouse. The liquid scalded my skin. I didn't flinch. The pain was grounding. On my way, I pushed the door to the CEO's office open. Brittany was perched on the leather sofa, head bowed, clutching a piece of paper like a lifeline. Hayes sat behind his desk, a statue of ice and repressed violence. People always said we shared nothing but blood, except the eyes. We both had those upturned corners. Cold, distant, unreadable. Too bad neither of us ever smiled enough to warm them up. Hayes never smiled at me, not once. Brittany might have parachuted in, but she has the talent to back it up. Harlow. My name tasted like poison in his mouth. His brows slammed together, forming a deep V. If you have a problem, say it to my face. Instead, you gossip. You turn the staff against her. You isolate her. He leaned forward, palms flat on the desk. Is the cruelty just wired into your DNA, Harlow? Is that it? It had only been 4 hours since the announcement. I glanced at Brittany. She caught my gaze. Her skin was flawless, glowing with youth. Her eyes were rimmed red, glistening with unshed tears that caught the light perfectly. She looked down immediately, shrinking away like a frightened animal. The stage was set. The actors were hitting their marks. They were waiting for my cue to play the villain. But I was done reading from their script. I can't control what people say. I shrugged, my voice flat. Maybe they just have eyes. I paused. People aren't stupid. Hayes. A sob choked out of Brittany. Crack. Hayes swept his arm across the desk in a violent art. His expensive fountain pen hit the wall, shattering on impact. Black ink splattered, bleeding into the carpet near my shoes like a dark stain. Harlow, you. I didn't let him finish. I dropped a single sheet of paper onto the mahogany. It landed softly between us. Hayes choked on his rage. He looked down. Read the header. His head snapped up, eyes blazing. Harlow, are you a child? Are you doing this out of spite? He crushed the crisp white paper in his fist. He hurled the ball at me. It landed near my feet, right in the pool of ink. It wasn't a tantrum. I learned that lesson a long time ago. Tantrums are for kids who have someone to comfort them. I had no one. I'll take a copy to HR myself. I turned on my heel. The heavy door slammed shut behind me, slicing off his shouting. I didn't get far. Footsteps clicked rapidly on the tile. Harlow, Brittany. Her voice was thick with fake tears. She reached out, her fingers brushing mine. Harlow, please, don't be mad. I don't want the job. I'll tell Hayes to give it back. Just don't leave. She sniffled. I shouldn't have come back. I'm ruining everything between you two. It's all my fault. The hallway was empty, dead silent. I stopped. I turned to face her. Brittany had mastered the art of the doe eye. The red rim, the pink nose, the trembling lip. It was weaponized innocence. It always worked. It was the same look she wore 10 years ago when she first invaded my home. Brittany. I took a step forward. I invaded her space. My hand shot out, fingers locking onto her jaw. I tilted her face up, forcing her to look at me. This routine? It never gets old for you, does it? Right? The color drained from her face. She went pale as a sheet. Ding. The elevator arrival bell cut through the tension. I released her jaw. I didn't look back as I stepped into the open car. She stood frozen in the hallway, staring at nothing. I forced a smile. It felt sharp enough to cut glass. Cut the act. Brittany, you know as well as I do, Hayes and we don't do the whole family thing. I leaned back as the steel doors began to slide shut. Funny thing is, you're the only sister he's ever actually wanted. The doors kissed shut, severing her view of me. My reflection stared back from the brushed metal. Dead eyes. A flat, emotionless mask. Then, the pain hit. A rusty knife twisted deep in my gut. I doubled over, clutching my stomach, breath hissing through my teeth. The cramps were getting worse. It wasn't always a war zone. Back in the beginning, before the cancer and the corporate sabotage, Hayes and I were just existing. He didn't like me. That was clear, but he wasn't cruel. Leonard treated me like furniture. He looked right through me. So, naturally, I clung to the crumbs Hayes dropped. He was my brother. We shared blood. I told myself that had to count for something. I held on to that delusion until middle school, until Brittany moved in. That's when the illusion shattered. I watched him with her. He smiled. He laughed. He didn't tell her to get lost. He didn't look at her like she was a disease he couldn't shake. Oh, I realized. That's what a brother looks like. But Brittany wasn't satisfied with just being loved. She needed to be the only one. Day 5 of her transfer to my middle school. I walked through the front door, backpack sliding off my shoulder, and, crack, my head snapped to the side. The sting on my cheek was instant, burning hot. The sound of the slap echoed in the foyer. I kept my cheek, staring at him in shock. Hayes stood over me, chest heaving, spitting words like bullets. Bully, psycho, vicious, apologize. I looked past his shoulder. Brittany was tucked behind his back, gripping the hem of his shirt. Her head was down, playing the victim perfectly. The puzzle pieces clicked. She'd spun a story, and he'd bought the whole damn library. I tried to speak. I tried to explain. He shut me down. The bias was so loud it was deafening. It broke something inside me, that stupid, naive hope that I could earn his love. Hayes wasn't an idiot. He knew Brittany. He knew me. He just didn't care. He wanted a reason to hurt me. He wanted a justification for the hate that had been festering since the day Mom died. After that slap, I stopped trying to be good. If I couldn't be loved, I'd be a problem. I was young and stupid. I thought negative attention was better than being invisible. I'd rather he scream at me than look through me like Leonard did. At least when we were screaming, I existed. We spent years at each other's throats. Constant friction, constant noise. Until I turned 18. That was the year I got dragged into hell. After that night, the war ended abruptly. No more screaming. No more hysterics. We just froze. We became ghosts haunting the same hallways. We didn't fight. We just pretended the other person didn't exist. By the time I finished the paperwork and got back to the apartment, the city was ink black. The street lights in my complex were dead. I stood in the dark, looking across the street. Warm, yellow light spilled from a neighbor's window. It looked cozy, safe, everything I wasn't. The cramps hadn't stopped since the afternoon. They were a living thing now, twisting my insides. I curled up on the sofa, a trembling knot of hunger and agony. I forced myself up, dragged my feet to the kitchen. I yanked the refrigerator door open. A wall of rot hit me. The smell of decay was thick, suffocating. I realized I hadn't opened this thing in a month. I grabbed a handful of wilted greens, ran them under the tap. I dropped them on the cutting board. Chop, chop. The rhythm was off. My hands were shaking. Slice. Sharp pain. A drop of bright crimson landed on a dark green leaf. It bloomed like a poisonous flower. I froze. The sting radiated from my fingertip, grounding me. But the sight of the blood, it woke something up. The impulse roared to life. I couldn't stop it. The knife shifted in my hand. It didn't aim for the vegetables. Slash. A new line joined the chaotic spiderweb of old scars. From my elbow down to my wrist, the knife clattered to the floor. I collapsed onto the tile, gasping for air. My lungs burned. I couldn't breathe. I was losing control. The darkness was winning. Dr. Bailey's voice echoed in the back of my skull. Take your meds when the episodes start. Harlow. I didn't take them. Surround yourself with family, she had said, her voice soft. Communicate. Let them love you. It helps the healing process. Family. I stared at the blood winding down my arm. What family? I didn't eat. The greens went into the trash. Hunger and pain wrestled for dominance until my body shut down. I blacked out on the floor. Bang, bang, bang. Morning. The knocking pulled me out of the void. I peeled myself off the floor, stumbling to the door. I cracked it open, blinking against the harsh hallway light. Hayes. He stood there, frost clinging to his eyebrows. His face was a mask of indifference. indifference. Panic spiked. Slam. I threw the door shut in his face. The deadbolt clicked. My heart hammered against my ribs. I threw on a thick hoodie and changed into long pants. Armor. I unlocked the door again. Hayes hadn't moved. His gaze swept over my face, his eyes piercingly cold. What do you want? I skipped the pleasantries. His eyes dropped. He was staring at my wrist. The sleeve had ridden up just enough. A small, colorful tattoo peeked out from the skin. Hayes narrowed his eyes. You're tattooing your arms now? I didn't answer.